Hello everyone, and welcome to Judy's Creations in Crochet. And today is June the 19th, 2025, and we're going to be all through June before we know it. We only have one more video this month, and then we're into summer vacation. It's amazing how fast the time goes, and I don't have my garden done yet. Although I will admit that I did get a couple more days out there and I have made some progress, and I'm hoping there's going to be rain again this week, but I'm hoping I can get another day or two and at least finish the weeds within the next week, although they tell me it's going to get very, very hot. So we're going to go from one extreme to the other, but the work has to be done. I want to welcome everybody. If you are new here, I like to talk about the items I am making, finished objects and works in progress, as well as I like to talk about yarn, a fair bit of yarn, and I'm right now in the middle of a series talking about hand dyers from across Canada, which I am going to finish up today. So if that interests you, I hope you'll stick around and maybe come back. I would love it if you would subscribe. And for those that are returning viewers, once again, I like you to know just how much I do appreciate the fact that you come back week after week to see what's going on here. I try to keep it interesting as much as possible. I start with what I am wearing, so I did go and find, it's actually a scarf. I honestly don't know the pattern name. I made this back before I was recording everything, but I do know that the yarn is 100% mulberry silk. I happened to pick up this yarn when I went with, excuse me, I went with Bonnie to a fleece festival, a smaller fleece festival in Woodstock, which is here in Ontario, about 2 hours from here. And I was able to find this mulberry silk, which I really, really like. And I love the colors in it. And it's just a very open mesh scarf, which went okay with what I was wearing. So I don't have any finished objects for you this week. And I'm going to talk about finishing things and doing things at another time. But I am working on something. Now, you're going to be surprised because I told you I was going to get busy on the Riptide. I did start on the Riptide shawl for our Riptide challenge, and we still have a month. It goes until July the 15th. And I got started. I did the very first main color with the I-cord. That didn't give me any problems. And then I got started on the very first section, the very first wedge with my first complementary color, they call it, coordinating, contrasting color. And I got that first wedge done, and that went pretty straightforward as well. And I'm ready to start back on the next strip that goes between the colored wedges, goes between the colored wedges. I don't think my brain is functioning quite the way it should today. Anyway, I got that far and I thought, okay, this isn't going to be too much trouble. It's going to be slow going because it's all single crochets, but I got sidetracked and I really wasn't quite in the mood, and this other project had been calling to me for over a week. So I decided, what the heck, it won't take me too long. I'm going to work on it. Now, I don't know if you recall, I showed you this yarn a couple weeks ago. It was a yarn that I said I couldn't find. It had been there on the table on the original, I think it's an Ontario yarn, and I went to do the Ontario yarns and couldn't find it. And then by luck, I found it in the closet. Why I was in there, I don't know. And it was with another yarn. So I'm just going to show it to you one more time. It was called Mindful Yarns and Fibers. And I really liked it. Nice color. And it has cashmere in it. I think cashmere and, let's just have a look, cashmere and silk along with the merino. And it felt really nice. And I had paired it with a yarn from the closet when I was talking about what to do with single skein yarns. And for some reason, I just wanted to get going on it. So I said, oh, I'm going to sidetrack here for several days and do this. So I started. The other yarn comes first. And it looks slightly different than it did in the cake. It looks a little darker, a little more solid to the purple. Not, the pink isn't as noticeable, but there is a little bit of pink in it, speckled. And then you put in the stripes, and now we're getting into multi-stripes. And after I do, I think there's 4 more of these pink stripes, then the stripes will get a little wider apart, and then it'll finish with a whole section of this along the bottom. And as you can see, it's an asymmetrical triangle, and it'll have this solid part at the bottom, which is soft. So a fairly straightforward pattern. I think it's called Metamorphosis. It was a crochet along several years ago, and I will link it down below. And I'm going to finish this. I'll have it finished for you next week and be back working on the Riptide, which I will work through July and be done by the end of our deadline. So I sidetracked and I went to work on this. And as you know, I am also working still on a blanket. And it is my hope, all going well, I will get the blanket done by the end of the month as well. So that's what I'm working on. So today we are going to go back to yarn dyers across Canada, and we're going to finish up from the Canadian dyers that these were all yarns that I had in the house that I've gathered over time, and I wanted to finish them up. I, in the meantime, though, have been watching people and so on, and making lists of more hand dyers in Canada that I am not familiar with. And right now, I think I've made a list of something like, I think it's 21 hand dyers that I was not aware of. They were not on the master list that I had in the beginning. So you're going to be seeing more Canadian hand dyers over the coming months, because I do want to get some. I probably won't get from every one of them, but I definitely will get a number of them. And I'm going to tell you that since last week, I did order from 2 of the people that I told you about last week, and most definitely one of them was the llama. So I can hardly wait for that llama to arrive and tell you more about that. So let's get started on our yarn dyers from the Maritimes. So back to my trusty little map. And we just finished Quebec. And the Maritimes consists of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, which is partially cut. And in there is PEI, that's Prince Edward Island. And then we have Newfoundland, and part of it is cut off. Newfoundland and Labrador. This part is Labrador. Anyhow, I had none from Newfoundland and Labrador, and I don't have any from PEI. I think I had some once, but anyway, I have one from New Brunswick and some from Nova Scotia. I wish I had a better map to show you. Maybe I'll get a better map and just show it next week. Or I could take a pause right now while I'm talking, and if I find a better map, I can insert the picture across here, as if you matter a lot. Anyhow, first thing is I want to say, and a couple people corrected me, and I made a mistake last week. I talked about Nerds and Needles, and Nerds and Needles is actually from Nova Scotia, not from Quebec. And we've already covered that one, I'm sorry to say. But at the same time, I have one that I didn't cover last week, and it is actually from Quebec. So I'm going to start off with it. It's called Hidden Ponds Yarn. They are in Hudson, Quebec, and if I can find where they are, I will insert or cover, put a map, and show you where Hudson, Quebec is. Now, Hidden Ponds Yarn is actually located on Etsy. So I will be able to locate, to link them down below. They are not huge, but I mean, they did have 278 different items in their Etsy store, and that included some spinning fiber. I don't spin, so I didn't spend a lot of time looking at it. I read one of their description boxes, and in that description box, they were listing the description of the 10 bases that they carry. I didn't see all 10 online, but I guess, you know, they rotate through them. They carry mini sets. They carry sock blanks. And a sock blank, actually, I have one here to show you. A sock blank comes like this. It is dyed after it has been knit. This has been knit probably on a knitting machine. Then it is dyed to give that look. And then you take it apart. This one, and a lot of them are knit together in 2 strands. Now, usually you can pull out the 2 strands, and with each one, you can make a sock. Because they were dyed together, they start at the same color, and it's the same color as you go along on both sides. So if you're starting your sock, same place, they should turn out to be a perfect match. And I have had a sock blank. I actually, since I don't make socks, I actually gifted it to a friend. And this one, I love the colors, but I'm disappointed. This doesn't usually happen. But this one has, as you pull out the stitches, do you see all the white in there? Now, I could stitch up a shawl, and it wouldn't matter about the white in there. It would just look like part of the dye job. But when you were doing the socks, well, I suppose it could look like the dye job for the socks as well. But what I noticed is the white in the stitches, because you don't see any white here. The white in the stitches shows, and some people wouldn't like that. So it didn't soak in between the stitches very well in this particular case. Some sock blanks are done much better than that. But anyway, I have this one. Maybe one day I'll use it. So they do have sock blanks, so you would have your matching set for socks. They also had some undyed yarn if you wanted to buy some yarn that was plain or try dyeing. They had merino nylon, they had alpaca, cashmere, silk, mohair. The various bases are fingering, DK, Aran, and worsted. And their yarn basically starts at $28. That would be your merino nylon blend at the bottom. And then if you add alpaca or mohair or cashmere, of course, the prices go up. But $28 is not bad. I didn't see, and it might be because I forgot to look, I didn't see a shipping price, but one of these had a fairly, it might have been that one where the shipping was a little bit much. I have some of their yarn. I bought some a while back, And then I bought some more. I think what I had at first was this 10 mini skein set, and it's in squishy sock base, which is 100%, 80% merino and 20% nylon, and each mini has 87 yards in it. So once again, as I've told you, I have a lot of 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 there. One of them has come free. So here is one of the mini skeins coming apart, and it does feel very nice. I would say average, I guess. It feels average. Nothing wrong with it, but here's the color set. So you can see why that one just fell out the end. I'll put it back in. But you can see why I had to get this set. It's very much in my color range. The cat was chewing the end of the package here. I have to put that back in. So that's the one thing I had for a bit of time. And then later, I bought this set. Maybe I bought it all at once. I don't recall. But anyhow, I think I bought some other bases. I think that was the point. So this is their Luxe Sock base, which is 75% ultra fine merino, 15% mulberry silk, yes, and 10% cashmere, and it has 437 yards, pretty basic, called Silent Night. Again, very much a color of mine, and it does feel very, very squishy, and it actually looks a little bit heavier than some fingering weights, but it feels very, very nice. The next one I have here is Dreamy Sock Base. I must have been comparing their bases. 70% baby alpaca, 30% silk, and 10% cashmere. Now this one feels nice. It is finer. I think you can see right off that the thread here is finer on this one than on that one. I have to say that this one feels squishier. They both have a nice, I don't know, this one, yeah, this is nice. Don't get me wrong, it feels great, but this one feels way, way nicer. And the very last one I have here, Dreamy Sock, again, is the, oh, you know something? I think what I did was I bought two the same so that I could make something, a shawl or something of a bigger size. So that's the alpaca. The other is merino. Both have cashmere and silk. Both feel heavenly. And once more, one day I will get around to them all. All right, so that's the one that was actually from Quebec. Now, the next one I have is Yarn Indulgence, and it is from Nova Scotia. No, sorry, New Brunswick. New Brunswick was the bigger, New Brunswick was the bigger province of them all, of the Maritimes there. So, what can I tell you about Yarn Indulgence? They're yarnindulgences.com. Where in New Brunswick they are, I don't know. They had fingering, sport, DK. They had Surrey linen, and bamboo. And the shipping was just $5 a skein, which is very good. And their basic yarn starts at $28 a fingering. And they have, I think they have predominantly OOAK, one-of-a-kind type yarns. In other words, they might dye something, and once that's sold, they don't dye that again. They move on and dye something else. Didn't look like they had a big offering. That's why I don't have very many notes. And here is the yarn I got there. There's their label, Yarn Indulgences. Unique and one of a kind. They're into unique and one of a kind. And this one is merino, 70% merino, 20% cashmere, and 10% nylon. Again, it feels very, very nice. Maybe not quite as nice as that full one over there, but still very, very nice. Cashmere, of course, it's going to feel nice. Now, okay, I wanted to do this one last, but I changed my mind. I'm going to do it next. We're going to move to Nova Scotia. I have 2 in Nova Scotia, and the other one I'm leaving till last because I have a lot of their yarn. So, for some reason, I heard about handmaiden fine yarns just recently, and this past spring, I went there to purchase something, and I purposely purchased different bases. So, Handmaiden Fine Yarns is in Nova Scotia, Halifax, Nova Scotia, and it's handmaiden.ca. Apparently, she started in on the West Coast in 2005. Really had a desire to share with people Swiss yarns and silks. She wanted to introduce people to these fine silk yarns. And eventually she decided to return to her sisterhood at Fleece Artists that are in Nova Scotia. And so there are 2 sister companies there, and it is a family business. And she eventually got into dyeing custom colors, and she has things like silk and linen and unusual combinations, kid mohair and silk. But the family, and they believe they are really artists, and this family business supports potters, photographers, textile artists, and jewelers. And they supply other stores. I don't think they have their own. I didn't see mention of a storefront there. Obviously, you can order online, but I think they supply their yarns to other stores. So I want to show you, I got 3 skeins there, and they are, well, the first one I think was a basic, and then I went from there. So first of all, there is their label. Now this one doesn't feel extra special. It is a merino and, excuse me, it is a merino and camel lace weight. So very fine. Although I've seen much finer lace weights. 80% merino and 20% baby alpaca. Now, generally you think, I said that wrong, 20% baby camel. Usually though you think with camel it's going to be soft, sort of like alpaca, but this doesn't feel particularly soft. And how much yardage do I get? 437 is your typical yard. It just feels normal to me. But these other ones are much finer yarns. I'll start with this one color. And this is what they call lace silk. It's 100% silk. Again, lace, so it's very fine. And it feels really nice. Very, very silky. Very silky. And again, can I figure out how much? 984 yards in this skein. 984 yards. I think I have my invoice. Yeah, I do, but it doesn't have any prices on it. That's too bad. I don't recall this being overly expensive. Beautiful. It feels lovely. And that would be perfect to make a wrap. 984 yards. And then we have the last one. Again, there is the handmaiden. And this last one, again, this is called sea lace. So it is 70% silk and 30% sea cell. Again, for people that like what I call vegan yarns, something that is hypoallergenic, non-animal. And this has 848 yards in it. And the color, do I have a color name? No, I don't seem to have a color name on it. But this is the yarn, handmaiden. I love the colors. And 848, even this might make a wrap. And this might be better because it's multicolored. So it would go with a lot. Again, it feels lovely. It feels really nice and silky. It has a silky feel to it. Silk and sea cell. I guess that's another one of those fibers I'm going to have to look up, sea cell, and have a talk about it. So maybe this summer we will look at things like different lace materials, sea cell and lyocell and bamboo and other lightweight summer type fibers. Somebody suggested I do some summer ones. So this summer I think I will. So that was Handmaiden Fine Yarns in Nova Scotia. And now I want to end with, just let me put these down. I want to end with Ravenswood. And you are all very much aware that Ravenswood has long been one of my favorite yarn dyers in Canada. Now, the first thing I want to say is she does not have a wide variety of bases. All of her yarns are merino nylon blends. I don't know if I can remember the percentage, so let me see what this says. 85-15. And the reason she's been a favorite of mine was a couple reasons. First of all, the yarn for just a plain merino nylon blend feels very nice, very squishy. And part of the reason is she uses, and I believe it says it on all of these, no, but it definitely says it in the write-up, she uses a 19.5 micron merino, which is a finer merino, and when it's softer. Much softer. That's one reason I always enjoyed her. The other was free shipping. And she's still the same. Anything that you buy in Canada, free shipping. She has had to put on shipping for the US, but if you order over $65, I think that's 2 skeins of yarn, because I think they're 32. Oh, you'd have to order a little more. She will give free shipping over $65 in the US. And I've always enjoyed her various colors. She has colors I don't like. She has fingering, she has DK, and she has worsted. All the same makeup. And now she's doing some minis. I always get very fast service. She vacuum, I guess you call it vacuum seals it. So it comes in a thin mailer envelope and it comes quickly. And like I said, no shipping. So I can order just one. If I see a color I like, I can order one. I don't have to worry about, can I justify the shipping and order so many? that is part of the reason I've always enjoyed this company. Also, I want to tell you a little bit about them. They have a very unique story, and then I'm going to show you a bunch of yarn. First of all, her name is Samantha. She lived in Alberta, I believe in Calgary. And maybe if you remember back to when I was doing Alberta, I talked about arcane fiber. Arcane Fiber said that he had worked with another dyer at one point and then went out on his own. Now, he said he did her marketing. He must have learned some dyeing from her, but I'm almost sure because somebody told me that Tyler from Arcane Fiber had worked with Sam. She lived, she said, in the big city, and unprepared, was not looking, she met David, who lived in Nova Scotia. And the two of them carried on a long-distance romance from where he lived in the country, she lived in the city. They lived, as she said, 4,900, I don't know, I think it's kilometers apart. And they went to meet each other. And a year later, they got married. And she gave up the big city life and moved to Nova Scotia to be with David. And they started up a farm with sheep and some other animals, and for some reason thought that they would prefer to be in Nova Scotia. They're in Nova Scotia. They would prefer to be in New Brunswick. So they moved, they sold their livestock and everything and moved to New Brunswick. And they were there 2 years and decided that they were homesick. They wanted to be back home, which was Nova Scotia. So they have moved back to Nova Scotia. I guess they've been there about a year now, and they've been building a small house and chicken coops and whatever else. And they hope to grow their livestock a little bit, but they are there to stay where they like it, out in the country at the moment with chickens. And you hear a lot about the chickens. So that's their story, which I thought was very interesting. And she has a weekly newsletter, and she brings you up to date on what is going on with the livestock and what new dyeing she's doing and so on. And she gave us progress on the building of their house. They lived in very, very rough, outdoorsy type situation while their home was being built. Now, I have these cubes. These are storage cubes. And I have 2 of them full of yarn from Ravenswood. And I thought, since they're all the same makeup, and mine are all, I did by accident get one DK, but I think I gifted it to somebody. Mine are all fingering weight. And I thought I would just show you a little bit of the scope of the colors. First of all, I have over here 2 that I came across. I love the colors. And when I was sorting yarns, I came across this one. This feels to me like DK, alpaca silk DK. I'm not positive, but I'm almost sure it's an EFA yarn. You know how much I like their yarn. And it seemed to match it perfectly. And I'm almost positive I have a pattern, a CJ Brady pattern, that requires 2 skeins of one yarn and 1 of a contrasting. And I'm thinking I would like to put these together. Aren't they gorgeous? If they don't work, then I'll do 1 of each for this, and then I'll still have 1 for another project. But I think these 3 can work together. So that is, sorry I knocked the camera. That is one. I'm going to flash a bunch here very quickly. But here is something totally different. At one time, I was always ordering their sparkles. She has decided that there is not enough market for sparkles, so she's discontinued sparkles. I was probably her biggest buyer, but that's one. And there is another one that sparkled. Here is one of her latest in the 5 minis that go together, and I got double of that so that I can make something a little bigger. I'm lucky that I got her sparkles when she had them, and I have down here in my basket, I have a sweater's quantity of this color called Oceanic, and I am, maybe this winter I'll get brave and make the sweater using this yarn. Isn't it gorgeous? I absolutely love it. I made a couple of the Zurzur shawls with her yarn. I also have, here's a few others. This might be, yeah, here's the DK in an oatmeal kind of color. I wish it was fingering because then I could make something bigger. Not very often that I get orange. Now I'm going to go into the other bin because there's lots of sparkle over here. Here's a Christmassy one, candy cane. Here are two that are different, very close. This one's called Full Moon, and this one is called Blue Christmas, but they are different. This one looks almost purple. That's a sparkle. You can't see the sparkle on that one. Here's another very neutral, but you see that is sparkling. Here's one I really, really like. Now this one is Night Before Christmas. The one thing I have to say is she dyes batches, and when they're sold out, they're sold out. She doesn't usually replicate any of her recipes. I really like that one. She does new colors all the time, and she has her inspiration picture there for you to see. There's a nice brown one. I do have a variety of things from her, but if you look long enough, you'll see there's a predominant theme to my colors. There's one I really like. I thought I had two of it. Color Me Happy. Yeah, I was sure I had two. Maybe there's another one buried somewhere. There's another sparkle. Greens and browns. So, as you can see, I have, oh, maybe those two are both. Yeah, Color Me Happy. I have two of those. So I'll make something with them together. So as you can see, I have a lot of their yarn because I do like the texture. I know what I'm getting from them. It's always very soft. And it's not that I go looking, but when she shows a color that I really, really like, I usually jump on it. So I have lots and lots of sparkle from her to work on. So that takes us to the end of our yarn dyers across Canada. There's another. Although I will be showing you more dyers as time goes on because, as I said, I have been gathering up a list of dyers that I've been learning about, and I am going to be purchasing from them. Now, I also have something else to show you quickly, but it's in the next room. I have to go and get it, and then I'll Sorry about that. I just hadn't have room to put everything on the table. I still have 4 other skeins of yarn that I believe are from Canadian Dyers because they were in the Canadian bins, but they have no labels, and I don't understand why people would send them without labels. Even though they send you an invoice, you need more than that. So This one, I believe, is a double skein, very multicolored, and it's obviously a merino nylon blend, and it's got a twist in it. I may at some point give this as a prize. Then I have this yarn, and I get the feeling I should know where that's from, but no label on it. Then I have this one. I love the colors in this one. This one feels the nicest of all of them so far. A very nice color combination. And finally, I do have one with a name, and that is Mary Maxim. Mary Maxim is not into hand-dyed, but this is a merino that is 75% superwash and 25% nylon. And I had it in the pile as well, so I thought I would show it. So that is that. Now, the first bit I want to show you that was out in the other room was some yarn that had labels, and I could not find them on the internet. So the first one I have is Jenna yarn. Jenna yarn. Nowhere does it say where it's from. I have another one. So I have a plain black one that had this label in it, and I had this one. Now this one, fingering weight, this is merino and nylon, but you know, it's got a bit of a halo, and it feels like there might be something else in it, almost cashmere. But anyway, I have these two yarns. I have no idea where they came from. And then I have these two, and I didn't buy them all that long ago, and it is a company called WN Yarns. WN Yarns. WNYarns.ca, and I had no luck getting it to come up. And merino nylon and merino nylon 75-25. Maybe if I go back and look again it'll come up, but I have this color, beautiful browns, and this color, which is a purple. It's called Nightshade, and that's quite pretty. But WN Yarns, I guess I'll try it again, see what happens. And finally, I'm pretty sure this was given to me as a gift, and I don't know why, or maybe I got it at the Fiber Festival last spring, and this is called the Spinning Spider. The Spinning Spider. Does anybody remember giving this to me? And again, the Spinning Spider. Wow, it says the Spinning Spider BigCartel.com. I tried that. It didn't work. But this is a beautiful sparkle yarn. Barbara, did you give this to me? I don't know. I seem to recall somebody gave this to me at my birthday, and it's beautiful. And it says 80-10-10. I have to think that's the merino, nylon, and stellina. Gorgeous yarn. Another one. I don't know what to tell you about it. Sorry about that. Now, I also, this is coming up Father's Day, and so I hope you celebrate with the special father in your life. and wish them happy Father's Day from me. And I thought, since they'll be busy getting things, that maybe it would be nice to gift you something as well. So today we have a gift of yarn. This is from Dragonfly Fiber Studios, and it says it is a DK weight. It's not a particularly heavy DK weight. Feels like a fingering almost, but that means it would have a little less yarn in it. And it is 75% merino and 25% nylon. It said fingering, but they crossed it out and put DK. And I believe it's from Saskatchewan, Dragonfly Fiber Studio. And we're going to flash it across here. The winner is Alley Cat Crochet. And Alley Cat Crochet, I believe I don't have any information on you, so I need you to contact me and let me know what your mailing address is so that I can get this out to you. Now, our mail is running, but it might be running a little bit slower than usual. But if you get that to me by the end of the week, I'll have it in the mail to you at the beginning of next week. So probably Monday. So there you go. That's this month's prize. Congratulations, Alley Cat. I think your name is Kimberly, if I have my wires straight. Okay, we have one more thing to cover. I said that I would have some items that I would be selling this week, and I have 3 shawls and 3 ponchos. That's all I really had in the lightweight. So I'm going to show them to you fairly quickly. I'm going to start with the most recent one. All of these are made with gradient cakes, so they're cotton or a cotton acrylic mix, although I think most of them are 100% cotton. I think some of them are Hobie cakes. This last one you saw, I forget what cake it was. Yes, it was a Hobie as well. So this one you saw recently, it's grays into pinks. And it is the Virus Meets Granny shawl. And this is a quite large one. I think it's larger than my wingspan. So it's got to be over 6 feet wide. And how long it is, I don't know. But I've got to say it's very close to 3 feet long. Over 30 inches, that's for sure. So that's the first one. I will talk about, they are all the same price but one. I'll talk about that at the very end. So there's the first shawl, pinks and grays, if that is a color you like. The next one, you know what? I think this is a Granny Meets Virus also. I really like this pattern. This is sort of a peach color into a burnt orange rusty color. Nice fall color. And again, it's more than my wingspan. I'm 5'6". That might be 6.5 feet wide. And again, I would say awful close to 3 feet long. I try to use the whole cake where possible. So that's number 2. Gray and pink is number 1. This burnt orange rusty color is number 2. And number 3 in the shawls is a different pattern. It's mostly straight with, see, it's, we've got puffs here. We've got puffs, we've got open windows. It starts with a creamy color and works into light green, more emerald green, and a darker, and that's almost a blue green. at the bottom. And it is probably as big as the others. It's more than my wingspan, and it looks to be pretty close to the same length. Very it looks more bluey there. It looks brighter green. Yeah, that looks pretty close to color. Very springy, summery color in those greens. So they're all the same size, but this pattern is slightly different. So that's the 3 shawls. Now we go and now we'll go to the ponchos. Again, made with the same yarns. The first one, I'm going to keep it on the hanger. Starts with a light green, into greens, into a bluey green. That darker pine green goes into the rusty red color, more of a burgundy actually, and into navy at the bottom. I would keep this if the navy were at top. If I'd made it the other way around, I'd have kept this, but this color around my face isn't the best color. Again, it's fairly plain with open rows of windows and chains, more windows and more windows. So a good length. And I made one very similar to this for a family member who wore this, like, you can wear these indoors. She just put it over a black turtleneck, I think, and wore it as an outfit to one of her Christmas parties. So that's the first poncho. The second poncho, this is very partyish, and this one looks to be a little bit smaller than the last one, and it's shades of red. Can you see it has sparkle in it? It has sparkle all the way down. I wish I could get it so that you could see the sparkle, because it definitely is sparkly. Can you see it sparkling through there? And it's from a dark red to a lighter orangey red. I think you can see some sparkle there when I have it sideways. And again, it's very plain with the open windows every so often. And that's the second one. So we'll call it multicolored poncho, red poncho. And finally, we have the one I showed you last week, which is the brown poncho. Now, all of the others are $40 each. Every single one of them, they use the same material. This one will be $50 because it uses a woolly whirl, and they are more money. You saw this last week, the beautiful shades of brown and golden. And it is lightweight. It's still a fingering weight, even though it was a merino blend. It's still very lightweight. So they're all 40. This one is 50. I'm talking Canadian funds. And I think I can mail any one of these, Canada or US, for probably $15. If you want 2, then the package is going to go up to possibly $20. I may have to double check the weight before we finalize things. But if you're interested in any of these items, please email me. It'll be first come, first serve. If you're in Canada, we can do e-transfer. If you're in the US, we have to use PayPal. And I'll talk to you about that if you are interested in any one of these. These are all a nice weight that could be worn in the summer on a cool evening. So that's what I wanted to show you. And that pretty well covers everything for today. I'll do some other things to show you in another month or so. I hope you enjoyed seeing all this yarn. Next week, I'm hoping to get some time to talk to you about variegated yarns, patterns to use, and pooling. Variegated yarns are often used in pooling, and so I want to talk about the kinds of pooling. And I also have yarn that I have purchased this past spring that I haven't had chance to show you yet, but I think I'll leave that for next week. So, I hope that you've enjoyed what you've seen today. And I've opened the door to a few more Canadian dyers, and more are coming for sure. And until I see you next week, happy hooking.